there, and welcome to my very special review and story breakdown of Uncanny X-Men number 22. We Have Always Been, part 6. This is the finale to the whole Uncanny X-Men series, right before we go into House of X, which is going to be coming out next week. I'll actually be there at midnight to pick it up. May even have a special video, we'll see. And then a week after that, we will have the Powers of 10. And so, of course, with those two issues, obviously starting with the House of X, this whole series, the X-Men in general, are going to be rebooted, the ground laid for their future ongoing books. I'm excited and scared all at the same time. But nonetheless, this issue just dropped today. I just picked it up mere hours ago. I have read it, and I can tell you it is an emotional roller coaster. It's got a great final epic battle, and as with normal tradition for this series, we have been losing some X-Men, and with this final battle, unfortunately, that does follow suit. But there is a great surprise here that absolutely brought chills, to my spine, gave me goosebumps. I mean, it was just an awesome moment. And of course, the way this comic and eventually this series ends, it absolutely just kind of leaves the future to your imagination. So, exciting issue, a great issue, really good dialogue between characters, really taking you through really what the X-Men have gone through. What do they mean? What does it all mean? Why did it all happen? And it's just awesome to read. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to break down the story for you. So please sit back, go ahead and relax and enjoy. Uncanny X-Men number 22, We Have Always Been, part 6. After a cataclysmic battle in which most of the X-Men were wiped off the face of the earth, Cyclops assembled a ragtag group of mutants as the last X-Men. Together, they went after mutant-related threats. Meanwhile, leader of the Hellfire Club and former X-Men Emma Frost used her telepathic abilities to influence the X-Men into targeting marks for the U.S.'s Office of National Emergency. Finally, after banding together with the X-Men for one last strike against ONE, Emma Frost erased the concept of mutant kind from every mind on the planet. Scott Summers sits on a bench. He's trying to clear his head out, understand where to go next. Danny Moonstar joins him, asks if she could sit down, and they start to chat about recent events. Danny Moonstar kind of laments the fact that now the war is over, now that nobody knows that mutants exist, the Cyclops really doesn't seem to have a plan. But she wants to know if he knew that, if Blindfold really did tell him that if he would pursue putting the X-Men back together like he did, that it would result in them dying. This is true, of course, and he admits as such. Danny becomes a little bit more agitated and comments on how, if you look at who survived versus who died, it seems like all the outcasts, all the, strange-looking mutants, those are the ones that died. And the ones that look like humans and that can blend in, they seem the ones to be surviving. Cyclops explains to Danny that they all knew what they were getting into. They were all soldiers, and unfortunately sometimes you lose soldiers. As Danny walks away, obviously frustrated, she comments that that's the problem. Cyclops sees them as soldiers, but Danny sees them as brothers and sisters. As Danny Moonstar walks away from Cyclops, somewhat upset over the conversation they just had, Alex Summers comes from behind a tree and, of course, starts to talk to Cyclops. Cyclops remarks, you here to yell at me too? But Alex Summers assures his brother that he feels that Danny has it covered. He does actually come to give Cyclops a little bit of a pep talk. Tells him that everything he learned about being a leader, a teammate, heck, even being a good person, he learned from Cyclops. He's actually trying to help him see the bright side of everything here. Cyclops is somewhat miffed because, no one remembers the mutants or knows they exist, and, so what are they just supposed to hide for the rest of their lives? But Alex Summers sees it as better than dying. Back at the Hellfire Club mansion, of course, Emma and her cohorts are there, Dr. Nemesis and Cortez. By the way, I did call him Phantom X in the last episode, and I do want to make that correction as Dr. Nemesis. They're both white guys that wear white with masks. I just get confused. Anywho, so we cut back to the Hellfire Club mansion where we see that Hope and Wolverine have been in the infirmary. Wolverine pops up and stabs Mr. Sinister in the neck. Now, Mr. Sinister is becoming a puddle at this point, which leads everyone to the conclusion that, that was actually never the real Mr. Sinister, just a Mr. Sinister clone. Emma and Wolverine start to talk. Of course, Wolverine is very upset and wants to basically kill Emma at this point. But, Hope, tells him, listen, she's actually saved us. She's saved all of our lives. Because of her plan, no one thinks that mutants exist anymore. Back at the park where Cyclops and Havoc are talking, we see these large golden sentinels, and they are detecting Cyclops and Havoc, which is weird because no one is supposed to remember the mutants. The sentinels attack Cyclops and Havoc in the park, and they go through a little bit of a fight, but their powers are not having a whole lot of effect on these new sentinels. Havoc comments that he's glad that their powers, Scott Summers and his own, can't hurt each other, and starts to glow very blue. Of course, we all know what's about to happen here, and so does Cyclops, so he's, begging Alex, not to do this. Havoc releases the full force of his mutant powers, and like Majin Vegeta did to destroy Boo, you see this large explosion that starts to destroy everything in its path. Cyclops is, of course, right next to Havoc, but is completely unharmed, and that is due to the fact that Havoc and Cyclops, they're not hurt by each other's powers. So Cyclops isn't hurt, but unfortunately, this has cost Havoc his life. It seems like this park wasn't too far away from the Hellfire Club's mansion because this bright flash can be seen right outside of the mansion. They notice it while they're inside. Emma Frost goes to open the door to investigate and sees General Robert Callahan wearing what looks to be a Cerebro-type helmet. It turns out that these Sentinels are being controlled by the helmet that's on Callahan's head, as well as the reason they are golden is because that's the same color as Warlock. Of course, we do have a Warlock here that's the Jamie clone, half Warlock, and so he starts to kind of tether himself to all the Sentinels and trying to reclaim the pieces of himself. One of the Sentinels blasts the Warlock and looks like almost nearly disintegrating him. It is at this point that Emma Frost, strangely enough, orders the X-Men to attack. So, a battle ensues between the X-Men and ONE and ONE's new Sentinels. The battle between the X-Men and ONE rages on. Cyclops enters the fray. He asks for a situation report, and Wolverine just basically tells him the situation is shit. Warlock and Cortez are already gone. Everybody else is hurt. They surmise that they need to get rid of Callahan. If they get rid of Callahan, not only will these Sentinels stop attacking them because he's controlling them, but so will, the history of mutants. No one will know or will bother mutants again if Callahan dies, because if he dies, he can't spread the word. So they come up with a plan. Their plan is for Multiple Man to make a ton of Multiple Man copies and run with Wolverine toward the Sentinels and Robert Callahan. They know that many of these Jamie clones are going to die, if not all of them. The plan works. Wolverine is able to get to Callahan, and he is able to strike him dead. This next scene is actually really cool. So, unfortunately, even though Callahan has been struck down, or more accurately, Wolverine cut the bastard's head off, the Sentinels are still attacking. Wolverine and Cyclops are the only two left. And we see a great moment here, where Cyclops tells Wolverine, "It was an honor to fight by your side, Logan." And surprisingly enough, Wolverine replies, "The honor was mine, Scott." And then with that, Cyclops says, "X-Men attack!" Wolverine, with his signature growl before he strikes, leaps at the enemies, but they are stopped in their tracks by the sight they see next. They see that Storm and the rest of the Uncanny X-Men have returned in glorious fashion. I had chills when I first saw this, and I have them now as I'm speaking to you right now. The X-Men start to whoop on these Sentinels with no problem at all. Look how they're just being dismantled here. Jean Grey's up in the sky, which is real significant because this is the first time that Cyclops has seen her or knows that she is even still alive. The X-Men have won the day. The battle is over. And we have a little bit of a Jerry Springer moment here as Jean Grey walks straight up to her husband, Scott Summers, and gives him a passionate kiss right in front of not only Wolverine, but Emma Frost. Ooh, that's a double burn. So, I guess we know where Cyclops' true love lies, and that's with Jean Grey, which absolutely has to chap Emma Frost's ass. Wolverine, on the other hand, who knows, but it's certainly a clear signal. Yeah, no, I don't want the short man. I want the guy that shoots laser out his eyes. The X-Men gather up now that the battle is won. Cyclops petitions that they not live in hiding. That they stop hiding and stand proud and just deal with the consequences of that happening. He asks the rest of the X-Men, "Who's with me?" And Magneto responds, "We're with you, Scott." And with a flash of red, Cyclops destroys Cerebra, and thus restoring the humans' memories of the mutants. And there's some police officers standing right by, and now they see it's the X-Men. They have no clue where they came from, but they can now clearly see a team of mutants known as the X-Men. As the police officers and the rest of the humans turn to regard the X-Men, Scott Summers states his realization. He has realized that the X-Men and mutants have always been at war. And there you have it. Thus ends this Uncanny X-Men run. We have always been part 6. We see the mutants that have survived here are now standing in front of humankind once again, although humankind only forgot them for one issue. But nonetheless, they have decided they're not going to hide. They're going to stand their ground, and they are going to fight for their existence. Well, there's definitely a lot to talk about here in this issue. I have no clue how this is going to lead up to what happens in the House of X Powers of 10 episodes. Again, that is supposed to lay the groundwork for the new X-Men. As it stands right now, it looks like they're basically ready to stand toe-to-toe and go back to war with the humans. Emma Frost is somehow back on the team, even after she orchestrated this whole, Inhuman vs. X-Men event back in the day where Cyclops was basically regarded as a terrorist, and that's because even though he was dead, killed from Mpox, Emma Frost was making everyone think he was alive and basically manipulating everyone, through the visage of Scott that she had created. So she had really gone off the deep end here. It's really surprising to see her standing with the X-Men. I guess, when you're near extinction, which unfortunately the X-Men have been near extinction for over 10 years now, it's like, okay, I guess you kind of take who you get. We see Mystique with them. I don't get that really. I mean, she was working with Emma, but again, there's just not a lot of mutants left. So, I guess she's going to kind of be there with them. We see Magneto. He's always kind of been in and out of the X-Men, supervillain, superhero. So that's a little bit more expected. But just really weird to see Emma Frost and Mystique here basically at the end of this X-Men series, given all that has transpired. It's just kind of weird to see, but as always, the X-Men are in a situation of desperation, and I guess that's what being a mutant and an X-Men is all about. So great issue. I hope you enjoyed, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of these Uncanny X-Men. Certainly going to continue reviewing, and it'll start, of course, with the House of X, which comes out next week, and the following week we will get the Powers of 10. So please come back and join me for that, and just make sure you keep reading these X-Men comics to see what Hickman is going to do. In my opinion, this is kind of the last gasp. The X-Men have been rebooted several times over the past year, and to me, we need an ongoing series, ongoing continuity, and I hope X-Men will continue under Hickman in a fashion that we can all enjoy. Although I haven't seen any pictures of Colossus in any of the new promo issues, so I am really hoping that my favorite X-Men isn't somehow being eliminated. But we will see. So join me next time on a D-Square comic review. Have a great day. Peace and love, everyone.